Sorrell. Kim, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Neil. And yes, I am excited. This has been a long time coming, Angie. We've been trying to get together. Angie Orth, you have lived my life, I think, or something like that. But in the corporate world, successful, and then decide to say goodbye to all of that and buy a one-way ticket to wherever you bought a one-way ticket to and go have this eat, pray, love experience. And I have been so excited to talk to you about it. You're a travel writer. You are a contributor to a lot of different places, and you do so many amazing things. And I just want to welcome you to the show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me. That was a great introduction.
Yeah. Okay. So my first question is this. You grew up, did you travel a lot when you grew up? Was traveling always something in your blood?
Not a ton. We did a bit, mostly, we were in Florida, so we did a lot of Disney World, did a lot of Epcot around the world. So that was the extent of it, really. A cruise here and there to the Bahamas, but not any major travel. My mom wasn't really into it. She doesn't like to fly. So a little
Oh,
bit here and there,
oh,
mostly
wow.
domestic.
So how did that kind of start? That you started really saying travel blogger because it's such a big business now, meaning everyone that's trying to travel blog, travel this, travel that. How did you get involved? Especially you're more of a journalist than some of these travel people, right? Especially working with some big platforms
Yeah.
as a travel writer.
Well, so my background is public relations, and I worked in New York at a big agency on the travel side of things. So I promoted travel and destinations and cruise lines and airlines for years. So that kind of put me in this circle of travel writers and very, very at the beginning of travel blogging. We were like, what do we do with these people? What even is a travel blogger? And at that point, around 2006, I had a blog myself, but it was just to tell people what I was doing in New York. It was just to like proof of life, tell my parents that I'm alive. Here's a fun thing that happened. Go. So I'd worked in it for a while and decided work is never going to love me as much as I love it. Maybe if I'm going to go see the world, I'm just going to have to go do it. I'm going to have to quit and run off and do the thing. And so I had my blog and I just kind of took it from there. And that was 2011. So I was very lucky to be on the front of the wave. And it was before you could monetize. It was before anyone ever considered it being a career. When I quit, it was very much like, you're never going to get a job again. No one's ever going to hire you in corporate again, you flaky flake. And then lucky me, it grew a following and I've been able to turn it into a career that's lasted ever since.
Yeah, and a great career, it seems like, and a fun career, right? It's so much
Definitely.
fun when you get to do what you love, and
Yes.
you obviously love this. So your mom, uh, when she started telling her friends, well, what does your daughter do? When she got that question, and she had to answer, she's a travel blogger back when people had no idea what that was. What was that like for her? And was it scary for her to have you out traveling and doing the things you do?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm still, I think, forbidden from leaving the country to this day, and it's been many, many years. But they're a lot more on board with it now. And I think, my mom thinks it was all her idea all along. But my parents were very nervous, and my grandparents, everybody was very scared. And that's when I moved to Atlanta after college. And then I moved to New York. And every step I took was a little too far outside the nest. And looking back, I'm like, yeah, no, they were kind of right that things were scary. And that's what my book's about, is all these sort of insane things that I came across. And the world can be a scary place, but
Mhm.
there's a lot to be said for being prepared.
Because getting a story is not easy, regardless if it's travel or anything. Getting a story because everyone wants to be quiet, and you have to search for that story and hunt for that story and know what are readers really going to want. And when you work for someone else, you got to make sure that you're providing the results, like what the readers are looking for. What are they gonna? What are my editors going to be happy with me at the end of the day? So how am I going to step out of the box to make it even better? Right?
Yeah, well, and that's one thing about how blogging has changed over the years. When it started out, it was truly, hey guys, I'm in Africa today. Look, an elephant. And that was the extent of it. It was like, look at the fun thing I did today. Now, anytime I create content, I'm thinking about what the audience needs to hear. What information do they need about this trip? How can they book it? Where should they stay? What should they eat? What are the things they need to think about? How to stay safe? So it's completely different than when I started, but I like it. And I like providing that information for people and thinking through, if I was planning a trip, what would I do and what are my steps, and helping other people do that.
I think there's a couple things, Angie, that make you unique compared to other travel writers. Like, there are some great travel writers out there, don't get me wrong, but you're in a different category because you bring so much of yourself into your articles and you're so funny. And you wrote this book, Flirting with Disaster, which is hysterical. I mean, it's so funny and it's such a great book. I love it. And I'm just, have you always been funny, Angie? Have you always just been funny?
I think so. I don't know. I think I kind of leaned into being the funny girl in middle school because I was kind of a nerdy girl, and I was, the kid with no money and the kid who shopped at Goodwill, and my parents didn't have nice cars, and I went to prep school on a scholarship. So I think I probably developed it as a bit of a defense mechanism, and now I just like to make people laugh. I really wanted the book to crack people up. Like, in addition to being travel, I wanted it to be the funniest travel book anybody's read. And I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm
You
proud
did
of
it.
it.
And after COVID, how many people still are challenged to want to go out and travel, that are still used to the Zooms, and especially business travel? I think business travel has decreased. I don't know what the percent is. It's a pretty larger percent because we're always on Zooms, even though I think we need to physically be at places. I'm getting tired of it. I've been doing so
Yeah.
many Zooms all the time. But what percentage travel was lost with COVID?
It was a lot for a while there. And I think people have reevaluated the necessity of being in person for a meeting. And maybe we reevaluate the most strategic way to do that and the most cost-effective way to do that. There's still people traveling for business a ton. And I think travel has bounced back to where it was before 2020. Like, we're back on track, and people are traveling like crazy, and prices are bonkers right now. Even for domestic flights, you're finding some really high prices. But I think travel's back. Travel's back in a huge way.
Great.
Yeah, I think so too. I've seen that. It's a wonderful thing, I think, because when you get outside your boundaries, you get a whole different view of life. And what would you say to the people who just are afraid, or they're just limited for whatever reason and just don't leave their city or their state?
Oh gosh. I'd say there's a lot of value in seeing and meeting people that aren't like you. And you don't have to be scared that it's going to change your beliefs or who you are, but it will give you compassion for others, and an understanding of maybe why people react the way that they do, in a way that you can't understand unless you get out there and meet them.
Yeah, and definitely. And what do you think you want people to know most about that read your book? Like, what is that ultimate goal?
Mm. I think it's for people who might be a little bit lost and aren't sure what to do next, or people who have ever felt like that. Like, I'm supposed to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm not really that excited about it. And I don't want to be in the box that people, in the life that people have designed for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that for everybody. So whatever it is, I'm not saying go travel, quit your job and throw everything out the window and don't become a mother. Like, that's not it. It's just God's designed us all really special and different and unique, and we all have different paths. So as long as you're on the path and you're searching that out, then I think that's really great. And that's the message of the book.
Yes, well, and some bravery thrown in there, right? It needs to kind of accompany things sometimes.
No,
But
do it
yeah,
scared.
it
That's what I always
is.
say. Do it scared, because I have always been scared and I'm still scared. So it's not like you kind of get over the hump and you're not afraid to travel anymore, or afraid to try new things or rappel off a waterfall. Like, I'm still scared to do all that stuff. It's just I know that there's value in doing it scared.
Mhm.
And that's the thing. And Kim, if you don't go out, get yourself out there, you're missing out, right? To
Yeah.
really be a
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo you, Angie. It's so different when you travel, because you do meet people that are different than you,
Yeah.
because we're a world full of different people. And we're not
Yes.
all the same. We're all uniquely made. We're all masterpieces. We're all one of a kind. And so meet some other one of a kind people is such a cool thing. Is that what you find is the best part of travel? Is the people? Is it the food? Is it the lodging? Is it the
You know,
sight?
it all depends. I think you can meet some really terrible people traveling too. Don't get me wrong. If you've ever sat next to like a bad seatmate on the plane, you know. Um, but some people are lessons and some people are lifetime friends, and you just never know what you're going to get once you kind of step out your door and what's going to sweep you away that day. Yeah, but the food, you can't go wrong. I love to try different food. I think I'm getting pickier as I get older, but I have eaten some incredible food around the world. And yeah, there's still places I'm like, oh, Greece. I would kill for a kebab right now, or and then you get to this point where once you've had it there, you have it at home and it's just not the same. And then you're just dreaming of sauce or a spice. And oh yeah, this making my mouth water just starting to think about all those favorite meals.
All right. So Kim has her question. She asks every guest. Go ahead, Kim, on the podcast. Go.
So I did my own Eat, Pray, Love experience. I dedicated a year to figuring out the true meaning of love. And I was in Haiti most of the time, and it just blew my mind. It rocked my world. The things that I found out about love that are different than some of the things we know about love, and more than some of the things we know about love. And so I am curious, in your life, Angie, where does love play a role? How do you see love?
Oh my, we don't have enough time for that. But I think relating it back to the book and the travels, just having love for people that you don't even know, and sort of walking out and knowing that everyone you meet is uniquely created and special to someone, even if you don't know them, and kind of treating them with that in mind. And even when people treat you poorly, thinking, maybe they just had a bad day, and having grace for people. I think that's just a foundation of love. And I try to approach everything like that. I'm not always nice. I'm not always loving, but I do try. And I think there's hope in knowing that there's love in the world, and that there's people that do care, even if they don't know you. There's people that care and would do what they could to help. And I try to be one of those kind of people.
Fantastic. Best place people could pick up your book is go where?
It's available everywhere you buy books. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the fun places.
Fantastic. We appreciate you coming by, and thanks
Thank
again.
you for having me.
All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show on the Love